Real estate development. Some of the world's great fortunes have been made in real estate development. Yet I've noticed that it is a topic that is rarely discussed on this board and also rarely on our DPD. Why is that? As a 29 years or so working in real estate development, I'm curious why development never seems to come up when people discuss ways to make money in real estate and wealth building. Is it due to the complex nature of development? The risk? I found it's harder to get started in, but once you do, the rewards can far surpass those of smaller scale reinvesting. Just posting this to hopefully open a discussion. Thank you sign. I believe it's because of the amount needed to start up. Of course, people claim all reinvesting involves a lot of startup capital. We all know that's not true. Just got to be creative. I do believe that somewhat rings true with development too, but not nearly as much. Eventually, I want to become a developer after I've made a good fortune in rare. I just like the idea of being able to turn a plot of nothing land into gold. I'm just learning how to develop land now. I have always wanted to learn how to navigate the government process and such. I just started working at a real estate development company. I'm hoping to have a property purchased by the end of the year to subdivide. Redevelopment is fast lane, but it requires a lot of capital, contrary to what Carlton Sheets might tell you at 1 a.m. in the morning. The average guy in his apartment earning $40K a year at his job can't one day wake up and say, hey, I'm gonna buy a 50-acre parcel, develop a retirement community, and then call it Del Boca Vista. Average guys are shut out. Barriers to entry are high. Similarly, starting an airline has high barriers to entry. That may be so for the 50-acre sites, but that is why I'm looking at 4 to 6 plats. Seinfeld, banana. Where I'm from, we call that a custom home builder, not a developer. It's still redevelopment, though. Russ H. Flash 98, what type of development company do you work for? I work for a multifamily developer. We develop large-scale luxury apartment buildings. We also do non-profit developments for teachers in California. I was drawn to this type of development as opposed to the national home builders because I'm a big supporter of conserving the environment, and while I think all new development leaves a footprint and drains resources, I believe the best thing for the environment is not custom home building and urban sprawl like we saw in the 70s, early 90s, rather, new urbanism and density. Urban sprawl and low-density communities put a real strain on the environment, not to mention the economic resources of a city. Agree barriers to entry are high in terms of cash and also in terms of expertise. You must have in-depth knowledge of governmental regulations, health department and building codes, environmental concerns, blah, 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 it's never ending. I've done it. I bought 220 acres, sold part of it off, developed 40 lots, and still own 110 acres. It was the most painful process I have ever experienced. It took 2 years of weekly meetings, fights and $65,000 in engineering fees before we ever stuck a shovel in the ground. I'm lucky to still be married after the mood I was in for those 2 years. After all that BS, you still have to build it, maintain it and sell it. I made money but worked harder for it than any other dollar I've ever made in my life. I wouldn't do it again. I guess it would be different if you were big enough to pay lawyers to do everything for you. But I wasn't. I went to the meetings with the engineer to represent myself in front of all the various boards. It was painful. When you become identified as a real estate developer, people begin to look at you differently. They begin to find creative ways to screw you, hold up your project, and spend your money. After all, you're just another fat cat to them. BGH. Wow, I guess I sound a little bitter. I better work on that. I work for a very large development company that buys large tracts of lands and then gets them entitled. The type of development depends on the area, whether it is townhomes, condos, or single-family houses. Most of the communities have a mix of everything. Although I haven't done any of my own projects, I am in the process of managing a couple of projects right now, and I can relate to what you are saying. There are definitely some headaches, and the process as a whole makes absolutely no sense if you ask me. There are definitely a lot of hoops to jump through. I've seen there are several places where a project can just die for any number of reasons, many of which a developer has no control over. This is a great discussion and exactly why I brought up the topic. I'm not really the type A, overly aggressively, kill the other guy, hyper-competitive and probably a bit insecure guy that everyone else in my office seems to be. My parents always laugh at me because they were certain I'd be a teacher or therapist, if that gives you an idea of my temperament. I was always attracted to development because I love homes and architecture, figured it'd be a good way to make money to take care of my family and eventually give me the dollar and free time to be able to start lots of programs for underprivileged kids, which is a huge passion of mine. My girlfriend always jokes about how no matter the circumstance, how I always root for the underdog. While I enjoy what I do, I often wonder if there is a way to do something similar without all the bullshit I put up with, which I don't enjoy. I sometimes think I'd be happier buying apartments elastivo or rehabbing homes and smaller developments, alas. I guess time will tell. I've been much happier since I got that out of my life. For some reason it was something I always wanted to do. It's now been crossed off the list. I do enjoy rehabbing for rental or for sale. It's nice to be able to do what you want without having to ask permission from multiple boards. Also, I like being able to start a project, complete it and move on to the next fairly quickly. Redevelopment is too slow for me. Real estate development is insanely profitable. However, having said that, there are a number of things that can and will go wrong. One of my businesses profits from warning site planners of such things. Did an environmentalist suddenly discover an eagle's nest on your site? That's a 500 setback, or roughly 18 acres you can't touch of your own land. Soils on your site creating a restricted drainage basin? That's several $1,000s more to a licensed PE, to do more complicated drainage calculations. Damn, apparently someone owns a spite strip, a thin strip of land separating your tract from the right-of-way, and he wants $500,000 for your property to be accessible. Plenty can go wrong, but then again, if you know what you're doing, there is plenty of money to be made in the field. It's not uncommon for local developers to turn a $250,000 piece of land into 10 one-acre lots selling for $65,000 each, but again, much experience is necessary. Jason. We have done a little development. One of the things I will tell you is that you need to make friends with people in the utility supply department or company in your area. Our first development we worked on, paying an engineer and going through the whole convoluted process at the city or county government level. The second parcel we worked on, we got an in at the utility supplier and they shared with us a way we could bypass at least half of the process. It can be easier than you imagine to develop smaller pieces of 12 parcels or less. The cost can be very low and it can happen quickly, but it really is about who you know. Thanks for all the comments so far. Really insightful. I did some thinking this weekend about what I really want in my business life, and here is what I came up with. These are notes. I apologize for spelling, punctuation, etc. For those of you who commented already, does this lifestyle sound like the lifestyle of a real estate developer? I think I may need to explore other avenues of real estate, app buildings, etc. I want my business or career to be in real estate, houses, architecture, etc. To have the ability to make tons of money, want a great lifestyle, vacation home, high net worth, No stress over bills, etc. all the time. Want to be able to develop a system or leverage off employees' time, i.e. want the biz to be making money even when I'm not, and the freedom to dictate my own schedule, i.e. I never want to be the guy working 100 hours a week for someone else who tells me where I have to be and when. If I need to do something for my family, friend, etc. and not get to my office till 11 a.m. someday, I want to be able to do so without answering to anyone, and ideally, work still getting done. Want the ability to take trips, start my foster kid foundation, spend as much time as possible with my family and friends, go to sporting events, alone time to read and be peaceful, etc. and do everything else I want to in life as well. Life is not all 100% about work for me. Want to do really well at what I do and be successful and do something that contributes positively to the world. Scene 3. What do I want in my life? Excellent work. This will be your roadmap to the fast lane. Rep speed +++ Russ H.PS. I'm working on a how to make your plan post. You have a really excellent start here. Great post. Cecil. Yes, you are right. Having my land classified as wetlands didn't help me. Actually will end up costing me a few grand. In general, I do agree with what has been said here. It takes a lot of resources, but it also offers great opportunities to make money. If it were simple, anybody would be doing it. Thanks guys. I have been thinking a lot lately about what exactly it is I want in my life. And then, on Sunday when I was watching a baseball game, it hit me. Thanks for all the positive feedback, and I look forward to your post on plans, Russ. Thank you. Sign. Sean, if you don't mind me asking, what did you decide and why did you make that choice? Flash 98, I didn't make a choice per se, but I was able for the first time in my life to put to paper exactly what I want in my career or business, which I outlined above. It may not seem like a big deal to most, but for me, to be able to put on paper exactly what things I want, it has been huge. As Russ outlined, now that I know what I want, I can figure out how to get there. I'll keep you informed. Scenes. Yes, you just accomplished something important. You are now entering in the category of doers. Rep++. Hijack, what do you want to do here? Foster kids have been in my heart of late. About a year ago, we were looking at doing a foster care foundation, but as the year progressed, our plan did a little too. Now we are licensed foster parents, and our foundation idea has taken a different path. Microcredit. Just curious about what you want to do specifically with foster kids. Oh, and so excited for you that you've got your focus now. I'm sure it will make a huge difference for you. Sean, you wrote, and from the sounds of it, you know that if you find you niche and something that you can really feel good about, the money will come. Pit questions about different areas of Ray against Yakatha and see what your reaction is. What gets you more excited? Imagine the front page headline news, banana. A big thank you to everyone who has replied to this thread and offered suggestions, encouragement and ideas. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's amazing what having a group of fast learners in your life can do. Although nothing material has changed in my life over the past couple of days, I feel like an enormous shift in my mindset has occurred. I can barely sleep. I wake up excited to start the day and make things happen. I have been going 120 miles per hour at my office, learning, asking questions and working hard and smart. I honestly believe this forum has been the tool I needed. Thanks MJ and all. My next step is to put a plan in place to reach my desired results. I am eagerly awaiting Russ's thread on how to put together a plan, because frankly, I don't know how. But I'll read the post and then put the plan together. I'm flying home this weekend for a wedding, so I'll have time on the plane to put my plan on paper. I'll post my plan next week for you guys to read, comment on and critique. I honestly feel that I can have the life I want. I just need to create it. Thank you all again, and I hope you feel good because you have all really helped me. HL, wait till you see what happens next. ATW, my mother takes in foster kids as a part-time job, so I've had a lot of experience with this population. She actually adopted one of the kids about 5 years ago, so now I have a 16-year-old brother. He is one of the lucky ones. He has a fund set aside to go to college. But I have seen many kids come in and out of my mum's house. Usually she has no control over how long they stay, and most of them go to worse places. What I've seen is a real need for life skills for these kids. They have very little guidance in their lives. I am not sure how I will do it yet, but I want to provide a platform for these kids to get the life skills they need. Ideally, a foundation or school or program where the kids can learn financial literacy, how to better interact with others, receive personal therapy, personal coaching, etc. These kids get thrown out of the system at age 18 and are left to fend for themselves, and they are rarely prepared to face the world. I'd like to change that. I'm bumping this thread. I've had an insight into the development field that I'd love to get some feedback on. Redevelopment is fast lane, that is for sure. But after my 3 years with my firm, I'm a little concerned. Although it is fast lane, it seems that successful developers are all very hands-on and involved with each project. Granted, they don't run the project on a day-to-day basis, but they are never far removed and always know everything that is going on. My firm has about 7 projects in various stages, and my boss is working like crazy. He is so stressed and his schedule is full of meetings, site visits, etc. every day. He mentioned the other day that he'd like to take a couple of weeks to go on vacation, but developers never get long vacations. 2 to 3 days at most. It seems like I'm in the process of creating a job for myself, not a fast lane business. Any thoughts? That was my experience as well. There is good money in it, but the challenges are large. Anything that you start is going to require a lot of attention from you, especially for the first few years. It will likely continue as long as you want to grow. I have seen developers that continually move to larger projects with each move. The money that they make continues to grow for each deal. The amount of equity that they keep grows larger as a result. This is fast lane. Build a 70M project, sell it, maintain some equity in the project and put the profits from the sale into the next deal. I agree with and understand this statement completely, and Steve and Jskut both explain it well. Pretty hard to grow without the owner's involvement. Let's compare 2 investors. One was successful investing in apartment buildings and got to a point where they were receiving $20,000 or more net in passive cash flow from the properties. Contrast this with the investor my boss running developments, where you usually receive a payout at the completion or sale of the property. The investor with the cash flow can take a year off, stop buying, and just live off cash flow, and not eating away any of the money they have saved. And correct me if I'm wrong, if this investor followed Volusai's plan, he could live in CA for 9 months out of the year and spend the summers with his wife's family at their lake home in another state, right? This is because his properties are most likely scattered around a bit. Even if they are not, it really doesn't matter where he lives. He can still manage his business from anywhere. The developer stops working for a year, more than likely everything comes crashing down. No new projects. Whatever projects he was working on most likely do not get completed and sold. Granted, I guess he could plan ahead and wait until all projects are done and not start any other ones to take some time off. And I have a hard time seeing how a developer could do a deal in another market without many trips. I guess I just see the apt investor being able to take a year off or a month vacation or whatever, and the developer short breaks here and there. Are there any major gaps in my thinking here? What am I missing? As an apartment investor, I can live wherever I wish. That is correct. The developer is going to need to be much more actively involved with the operations. But, Following a plan of maintaining an equity share in each development would eventually get him to the point of passive income as well. While your current company may not be doing this, it is an option for you. I like the apartment route better though. Not that I'm biased for anything, icon_super. Can you explain how this would work? My group usually takes on an equity partner and then splits profits once the project is sold. Projects are usually sold to large firms, pension funds, etc. Sean, what market are you in? Also, you can make development what you want. A lot can be accomplished with a laptop or mobile broadband card and cell phone or PDA or BlackBerry. Care to elaborate? I'm in the Bay Area, California market. You? Bump for more ideas. I'm glad to see many knowledgeable folks in the field here. My question to you is, what is the minimum viable project one could get started with? I'm guessing a mobile home park? Or perhaps a single lot built and developed into an SFR, or is developing just one home cost prohibitive?